So here's the thing. I have been driving the new Tesla Model Y all-wheel drive for a bit now, and I wanted to do something different. Not just specs and beauty shots, but a real-world take. Out here on the East Coast, away from our usual California scenes. New England roads, mixed weather, a little more heat. Daily drives, DC charging, road trips, the whole deal. You'll see how this car actually performs when it's not just hugging charts, but actually driving all around. I have done multiple trips, but there's one road trip I have fully documented: range, efficiency, charging stops. There's also a look at DC fast charging, where I took it from 10 to 80% on a 250 kilowatt supercharger. It's quick, sure, but you'll see how quick. And beyond that, some honest takes on the car's strengths and quirks, what I liked and what had me raising an eyebrow. Because the Model Y is still a compelling EV, but not without a few things to call out. Let's get going on some real world driving in and around New England on the East Coast with the refreshed 2026 Tesla Model Y. Let's get started. To check the performance, real world range, and efficiency of the car, I decided to run a proper road trip from Boston to Woodstock, Vermont. This was also one of the few runs I fully documented. For a change, instead of looping from 100% to 0% on a close route, I drove it like a real trip and followed a planned charging strategy. I still maintained a loop by driving to Vermont and back on the same route to offset any elevation gains or losses. It was a particularly hot day with temperatures in the 90s, which added another layer of testing for the car. There was a light tailwind of 2 miles per hour on the way up and an almost equal headwind on the way back, starting around 9:45 in the morning. The odometer read 2651 miles at the start, and we started at 52% in state of charge. I have disabled full self-driving for this test and switched to basic autopilot, though the automatic lane change feature from the FSD package remains active. The rules for this drive are simple. Maintain a steady 70 miles per hour on the highway as much as possible. To do that, I have set the ADAS to 71 miles per hour, which effectively equals a real-world 70 in a Tesla. That's not a glitch, it's intentional. Safety rules prevent speedometers from showing less than your actual speed, so most automakers calibrate them slightly high. In Tesla's case, that means the display is usually about 1 miles per hour over GPS speed. Now, does that throw off efficiency or range numbers? It doesn't. The speedometer may read a touch high, but the odometer stays accurate, so distance and energy use remain reliable. So I stick to 71 indicated, adjust for safety, and mostly keep to the right lane, especially when traffic on the left is blowing past the limit. It's not a lap test, but this setup gives the car a fair shot to show what it can do in the real world. Tires are at the factory spec 42 psi all around, which is crucial for efficiency. Put it all together and we are giving this Model Y the best chance to hit its peak numbers. We've done about 68 miles on this leg from a starting point to the second supercharger here in Hooksett, New Hampshire, in about an hour and 20 minutes. We arrived at 31% in state of charge, having done 68 miles and consumed 16.4 kilowatt hours, coming to 4.14 miles per kilowatt hour for this segment. I'll keep updating and informing on these variables throughout the trip, and that will help us pin the actual number for this car. Somewhere along, I'll share the full chart for you to check. There are two superchargers here in Hooksett. The first one's a 325 kilowatt, what's commonly referred to as a level 3.5. Technically, it's a level 4 dispenser paired with a level 3 cabinet. A little further up, there's another one, a 150 kilowatt unit. The next available charger after that is almost at Woodstock, which could be cutting it close. So I'm gonna pull into the second Hooksett stop, the 150 kilowatt one, for a quick splash and dash. Just enough juice to get me to the one at West Lebanon, right near Woodstock in Vermont. That's jumped from 31% to 38%, which gives us enough buffer to reach Woodstock with around 15% left. We've taken in only about 5 to 6 kilowatt hours here, which took exactly 9 minutes. Technically, we could have skipped Hooksett altogether and reached West Lebanon at about 4%, but with temperatures in the 90s, the elevation ahead, and with no fallback option in between, this feels like the right call. We are at the West Lebanon Tesla supercharger. We've done 67 miles consuming 23 kilowatt hours or 3.73 miles per kilowatt hour. The elevation and rising temperature clearly affected efficiency in this segment. Won't be stopping much here, but getting to somewhere around 50%. That should be sufficient for the needs here and enough to get to Hookset on the way back. At Woodstock, we had 46% from 52% at the West Lebanon supercharger. We've had a longish halt with the temperatures touching a scorching 100 Fahrenheit. That was merely an additional 15 miles, but took over 4.5 kilowatt hours, delivering 3.2 miles per kilowatt hour. Plenty of range has been lost up to this point owing to the elevation, and this should be made up for on the return. To sum up the one way, the car has done 150 miles, consuming 44 kilowatt hours of energy. That's 3.42 miles per kilowatt hour in all. On the return, I opted for the other location at Hookset, the 325 kilowatt charger that's at a target. It took 25 kilowatt hours to cover the 86 miles getting there, which worked out to 3.45 miles per kilowatt hour. We charged up to 72% from 14%, adding 45.2 kilowatt hours. The final 61 miles used only about 18 kilowatt hours, delivering roughly 3.4 miles per kilowatt hour. So in summary, the return leg covered 147 miles using 43 kilowatt hours, which meant 3.37 miles per kilowatt hour. All in, the entire trip totaled 297 miles and consumed 87 kilowatt hours, driven mostly at 70 miles per hour on the highway or adjusted for traffic as needed. That gave us an overall efficiency of 3.8 miles per kilowatt hour. You see two charts. The one on top indicates the power put out by the dispenser and accepted by the car, while the one on the bottom left shows the EPA miles added over time. This is a 10 to 80% DC fast charging session. The single value highlighted in red marks the point when the peak DC charging rate was reached. 252 kilowatt in this session, fulfilling the 250 kilowatt promised by the car. But it also shows just how briefly that peak is held. Charging matters more than range, and the charging curve matters more than the peak charging rate. As you can see, it simply drops off from that peak. This is my biggest disappointment with this car. Despite all the impressive updates and battery improvements, which I'll get into in a second, Tesla is clearly trailing some of the new competitors. In my experience, it barely tries to hold above 100 kilowatt once it crosses the 50% mark. This session was recorded at Dartmouth, Massachusetts, after I preconditioned the battery en route driving about 60 miles. Tesla's charging network still gives it a huge edge over other brands, some of which actually charge faster on their own, just without the same access. Meanwhile, the market is filling up with cars offering faster charging, big batteries hitting 450 or even 500 miles, and doing 10 to 80% in just 20 minutes. This session looks on track to take about 30. Not the end of the world, but still a point to mark. Underneath it all, the Model Y's battery pack has 4 modules with a total of 4416 Panasonic 2170 cylindrical cells. They are arranged in groups of 46 cells in parallel with roughly 1050 per module. Built on the nickel cobalt aluminum or NCA chemistry, the pack runs at a nominal voltage of 355 volts, climbing to about 403 volts when fully charged. Its floor voltage is around 300 volts, which helps ensure stable performance across the charge range. With the 2026 Juniper update, Tesla has refined how the power electronics integrate within the pack. The cells are believed to be slightly upgraded versions of the original 2170s, offering better energy density with improved thermal management. That should be helping keep higher DC charging speeds for longer. Clearly not being seen here. Software updates to the battery management system should also boost cold weather reliability, helping maintain steadier charging even in tougher conditions. So while there's real progress under the skin, the everyday experience highlights where Tesla shines and where it doesn't. The car remains efficient, the network still sets the benchmark, but the charging curve, that's where it's getting outpaced by some of the competition. The power the car accepts is an important parameter, but not an easy one for everyday users to track. The added miles per minute are what most users would be interested in checking and considering. Then again, most users, most of the time, won't be charging their cars on DC, perhaps only once or twice a year. Even so, it's important for road trips and for the many who don't have everyday access to charging at home. The 2026 Model Y long range all wheel drive has a dual motor setup. It makes about 514 horsepower and 364 pound-feet of torque. Tesla says it does 0 to 60 in around 4.1 seconds and the top speed is 125 miles per hour. It has a 78 kilowatt-hour usable battery and the EPA range is 327 miles. For charging, it supports 250 kilowatt DC and 11.5 kilowatt on level 2. You can view my early impressions here. Inside there's a 15.4-inch center display and now a second 18 screen in the rear, mainly for climate controls and entertainment. Both front seats are heated and ventilated, and the rear seats are power reclining and heated too. It also has a 16-speaker sound system with a subwoofer and ambient lighting in the dash. Cargo space is good, 76 cubic feet total, with the rear seats folded. It includes a frunk and a powered liftgate. For safety, there are 8 airbags and 8 external cameras. Autopilot is included and you can add full self-driving if you want the full thing. As for size, it's 188.6 inches long, 78 inches wide and 63.9 inches tall, with a wheelbase of 113.8 inches and 6.6 inches of ground clearance. It weighs about 4,396 pounds. With just over 2,000 miles on the new Model Y all-wheel drive, there are a few real-world quirks and observations I have picked up. Stuff that you won't always catch in early reviews or spec sheets. At highway speeds, especially the higher end, there's still a slight sense of instability. It's not dangerous or dramatic. This seems on account of the tires that I was hoping would have fully broken in by now. That said, the ride overall is far more planted than the older Model Y. It's honestly a night and day improvement. You feel it the moment you hit uneven roads or make quick transitions. So progress for sure, just not perfection. With DC fast charging, the full session of which you find in this video, I picked a 250 kilowatt supercharger, the best shot at seeing top speeds. Unshared cabinet, battery preconditioned, and I was down at 10%. Everything lined up. It did peak just over its rated max, but the whole 10 to 80% session still took over 30 minutes. The cost at this particular location was 34 cents per kilowatt hour. Inside the cabin, the lumbar support is okay, not bad, but not great either. Just one of those things where you expect a bit more in what's now a fairly premium price bracket. Then there's the turn signal stalk. Tesla brought it back, but it's tiny. I found myself wishing it was a touch bigger, maybe with a bit more travel or feedback. Would have also been cool if it worked like the steering wheel buttons. Press once to toggle, press again to cancel. But maybe that's just me wishing for a fully digital signal by wire future. Oh, and one glitch worth mentioning, the camera app froze on me once. Just blanked out. Took a full system reboot to bring it back. Not the end of the world, but when software is doing the heavy lifting, moments like that stand out. So nothing that breaks the car, but definitely a few things that break the spell. That wraps up our look at the new Tesla Model Y. Tested this time away from our usual California settings, out here on the East Coast in New England. We covered everything from road tripping and DC charging to some quirks and daily usability. Overall, it's still a solid buy. The car handled long drives well, efficiency stayed respectable even in the heat, though that DC fast charging curve did leave us wanting a bit more. But all in all, with its range, tech and everyday drive, the Model Y continues to be one of the stronger picks out there. Also take a look at my recent videos if you want more on EVs. See you in the next one.